2, 1, 0. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good evening. It's a good evening. It's around 10 till. How's it going, everybody? Got some people waiting here, so that's nice. Let's see. What have we... Oh, there's a lot of people chatting in here. Sweet sugar. When you go live, it's 20 seconds before. When you do, I just want to say sorry for missing so many lives. There's so many chats here. I don't know where the first one was. Anyway, great to see you, Sweet Sugar. Carly, how are you? Good to see you. Glad you're on your student council. That's fantastic. Still me. We're about the phone issues. So guys, for everyone here, hello, love and light, and still me. Kino might make an appearance later in the evening. We'll have to see. So for those of you tuning in, we're going to watch the Philadelphia presidential debate between President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Trump. And we're going to also do an experiment to see if the little political thing brings in more people here into the live chat or into the live stream. So we will have to see. I'm watching here. You can see I've already got it all set up. Boom, right here. So we'll be able to watch some of this once it goes on. Harris and Trump face off for the first time. And so that should be interesting. What is frustrating is that we don't get the deluge of spammers anymore, because they were kind of fun. I have to admit, it kept me on my toes to have a bunch of people who didn't 100% agree with me, because that makes things a little bit interesting. But nonetheless, we're going to drive on, and we're going to do a good comedic analysis and policy analysis of what Donald Trump and what Kamala Harris have to say. What was very helpful before, too, was there were so many comments that kept me going, too. So it's kind of weird. You'd think YouTube would make sure that every live streamer gets a huge deluge of people in the chat, because the live chat comments is a lot of times what allows the live streamers to have something to go off of. How all? You're doing your homework. Hey, that's all good, Carly. Welcome, everybody. We're going to be watching the presidential debate. We've got everything all set up, so you can watch it with us right here. And we will be watching that with audio and all that shortly. And in the meantime, still me. Happy to do it. Nice to see you being here and being a part of this. And yeah, Sweet Sugar, I basically, if someone's gone for a long time, I just remove them as moderator, because I don't know if they'll be coming back. And it just makes it easier for me to kind of have a smaller idea of who's moderating and whatnot. So the preliminary analysis here is, A, did Kamala Harris get the questions beforehand? Supposedly, according to ABC News, no one's getting the questions ahead of time, but can we trust the media? I don't really know if we can. Now, here's a little wrinkle, is that Kamala Harris's debate coach is an attorney. And it's an attorney who works apparently, I don't know the exact details, but there's a conflict of interest potentially, because that's an attorney who works for the Department of Justice, for the law firm that's working with the Department of Justice to bring up the antitrust lawsuit and issues against Google. And so now there's another investigation going in. Why is Kamala Harris working with someone, an attorney who's also apparently working with this Google antitrust issue? So we're going to have to see how. That's a whole other story, but let's see, did this debate prep that Kamala Harris did, is it going to help her? And in terms of Donald Trump, so apparently Donald Trump's preparation has been simply talking with constituents, and doing his thing. The thing with Trump is he has been honing his platform for 8 years. Everybody knows what Donald Trump's platform is. I could go up there and be Donald Trump and advocate for all of Donald Trump's policies without even being Donald Trump, because we all know what Donald Trump's policies are. But nobody could go in and stand in for Kamala Harris because nobody really knows. Even Erin Burnett on CNN was going over some of Kamala Harris's policies from years ago. Going, what? So apparently Kamala Harris filled out this survey back years ago. And in the survey, it said, what are some of the things that you would want to do? And one of the things Kamala Harris said that she wanted to do was to give gender-affirming sex change operations for illegal immigrants who come into the country. And Erin Burnett on CNN was going, what the heck is this? So even people on CNN, Erin Burnett has no idea what Kamala Harris's policies are. So it's going to be very exciting to see. It's a countdown, 4 minutes, 45 seconds until this begins. So, oh, I love it. We got some great spammers in here now. I've missed you guys. It's good to have some good spammers in the house. Guys, please click like, by the way. That'll help maybe encourage more people to join the live stream and come watch the debate with us here. And let me see some comments. Your friend wants to be a moderator. I don't give moderator to anyone I don't know. It's kind of like saying, would you get married to me? And I just met you on the first date. No, Britney Spears does that, but I am not that crazy. Pimp Daddy says she's Jewish. Carly says, I don't think he wants more mods. Yeah, I don't want it. More than I want more mods is I'd like more viewers. I remember the good old days in Midsummer had 125 people in here, 130. But we'll get back there. We will get back there. What's up, Big Kev? How are you? Yes, support the channel by liking and subscribing. I agree. And your friend says it does not take a lot to be a mod. I've been a mod before. It does take a lot because maybe the people who made you mod before didn't have any high expectations, but I have a lot of interesting rules and nuances for the people who are my mods because they're basically a representation of me, and I don't want them to push people away. How you doing, zombie boredom? We're gonna have some zombie. We had some zombie boredom in the last presidential debate. We had one of the candidates was giving us a lot of zombie boredom. I don't think we're gonna have zombie boredom. We might have Valley Girl ditzy boredom. You know that's not gonna be Trump. Can I be an Oompa Loompa with that hairdo? Thank you. Oompa Oompa Doompa-dee-doo. I have a better hairstyle than you. Zombie, zombie, zombie boredom. That's the name of the guy, and he's sucking his thumb. And let's see, your friend. Okay, really, dude, name one Trump policy. It's so silly. Name one Trump policy. Deport the illegal immigrants. Get us out of all of these wars that are going on in the world. Make America safer. Support American police departments. Get rid of all the corruption in government. Bring on Elon Musk as the head of Department of Government Efficiency, and cut the budget and the needless waste in the U.S. government. The list is endless. The list is endless. And let's see. All right, Versace, if you keep repeating that over and over again. By the way, guys, I get behind on the spam. Actually, I get behind on the spam. I get behind on the comments sometimes. So if you leave a comment, I will get to it eventually. It just gives me a moment, and we're watching this stuff down together, this and that. So maybe spam. Yes, tell me. We got some spam. Makes me so happy. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling, 'cause lots of spam is coming my way. That's a great song from a Broadway show called Oklahoma. Hi, Sweet Sugar's here, of course. Let's see. This guy looks gay. He looks like a Kamala voter. Versace. If I were gay, it wouldn't be a big deal, but I'm not. And I'm a Trump voter. I'm proudly a Trump voter. New discussion, shave my head. Nah, I'm okay. I'm going to keep my hair like this. And let's see. Nothing with looks has to do with voting. Sure, buddy. That was a good one. Howdy. Hey, Jamie. Oh, Jamie's in the house. Great to see you, Jamie. Jamie, my fearless member of the channel. That's why she's green. She's green. And let me see what else. Back to homework, y'all. Be good while I work. Oh, Carly, you're leaving. My only moderator. Uh-oh. Vote for Pedro. Sweet Sugar, why was I removed? Sweet Sugar, were you even listening when I gave a whole monologue explaining why you were removed as moderator? Since you were not here to listen to that answer. Maybe I'll tell you later. By the way, Jamie, I found out how you can change your... Oh, guys, here it is. It's starting. It is starting. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. All right. So, obviously, we'll go back to that once they start speaking. Jamie, if you wanted to change your membership level, you can go click on perks, click on membership, then perks, and then under perks, you can click on change your membership level. Apparently, that's how you do it. I do not know if that is the case. So, let me do a poll here, and we'll see who is supporting whom. You support whom? Trump, Harris. By the way, if you support Harris, I don't care. You're welcome here. So, all good. Thank you for clicking like. And if you like being a part of this, click subscribe. And the more subscribers I get, the more likes I get, the more encouraging this is. Makes me want to do it a little bit more. Oh, look at that. I just saw a picture of the presidential debate stage, but there's nobody on there now. No, Nick, you're not getting a shout out because you're gonna get blocked because I don't like. That's okay. All right, so just hid Nick because he's trying to get me to say something that'll get me in trouble here on YouTube. So don't try to get me to say things that'll get me in trouble. All right, so we have 8 votes so far. Yeah, maybe it won't be disastrous this time for the Dems. We'll see. We will see. So let me see what they're saying here.
The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for
there's the clock.
Clarifications or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight.
So I'll give you what those debate rules are so you know. So it's an hour and a half, and I believe there will be 2 commercial breaks. It's being hosted by 2 ABC News hosts. When one person is talking, the other person's microphone is muted, so nobody can interrupt. Apparently, it's going to be something like, I believe, 2-minute answers, a 1-minute rebuttal, and then a 30-second counter rebuttal. Something like that. They just came on stage. Let's see what's going on. 1 second here. Unmute it.
So let's get started.
Here we go, guys.
I begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue.
Let me know if you can't hear it.
The cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy.
Is that better?
Here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion. One of them is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that
She's
Trump's
terrible.
sales tax will actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, will give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going
Well, that was a
to
bad poll. Hold on.
75 years pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. They would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago.
That's a mistake. She should not be making those faces.
For every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected.
Bad. Don't do that, Kamala Harris.
You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out.
He's far more serious, which is important. Look at her. She's looking off. She's smiling. She's blinking, like you said.
I'll do it again.
And she's the mistake.
We are going to get to immigration and border
Look at her
security
smiling.
in this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the
Not good.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
She's talking as if he's president now. She's been vice president for 4 years.
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job.
Look at her laughing.
We handed them over.
Hillary Clinton did the same thing. It's not a good strategy.
It was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you.
Oh my gosh.
And when you look at
Oh my gosh, she's absurd.
It's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse.
Bye, sweet sugar.
Would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Oh my gosh, Trump is a good man.
Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer.
You can hear me type. That's funny, Josh.
Higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. When a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century. which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights.
Yeah, all she
But
talks
what
about
I'm
is
trying
Trump,
to
not the
get
topic,
about
Lily. You're right.
COVID is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point.
But she at least
When we
pronounced
know
President
that
Xi's
was
name sort of
responsible
correctly. I'm
for
impressed with her
blocking
there.
and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy.
That's a good stock to buy. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. TSM.
To my philosophy now.
Based
fact,
in
I
Taiwan.
sent her a MAGA hat. She's gotten to my philosophy, but if she ever got elected, she'd change it, and it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when
Look
you
at her.
what
Look at
she's
her.
done to
That's
our
so funny.
And when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade last year. You said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that you
Thanks for clicking like, guys. Appreciate it. And subscribing.
In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something...
Sorry for the moving.
52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in
What's
an
funny is
emergency room because the healthcare
the Democrats
providers
forced
are
everyone to
thinking
get
about going to
vaccines
jail
and to wear
or just
masks,
bleed
right?
out in a car
But
in
now
a
she's
parking lot.
criticizing, it's
You
such
didn't want
hypocrisy,
that?
such
Your husband
hypocrisy.
didn't want that? A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor.
He just said that Trump has nothing to do with 2025, and she's calling it his 2025. It's like, are people that dumb that they're not going to be able to look and see through her own lies?
Thank you, Vice President.
No.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban, because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter, because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have to, because again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D.
It's an advertiser-friendly channel, and I don't want to upset advertisers or YouTube. Thanks.
I think you're speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it, because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is.
Her whole thing is all she talks about is what Donald Trump is going to do if he's elected. She doesn't talk about what am I going to do as president of the United States. That's what I'd like to know. What are you going to do as president? Not insulting Donald.
It's unconscionable. And the people of America have...
I love him. He's so stoic. Look at him. He's so awesome. He's awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
Every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing,
Stoic Trump.
Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask me that question?
Wow, she's not answering the question. Wow.
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security.
Thanks, Jamie.
It's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently for President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
She's also the only presidential candidate who lets unfettered border access to the United States without any vetting whatsoever. Watch for Trump's rebuttal.
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And
Boy,
what you
she's
also
horrible.
notice is
She's
that
really
people
horrible.
start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs. Your
Yes, she
dreams,
does.
your needs,
Yes, he
your
does.
desires.
Every single
And
rally.
I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
Let me just ask though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the board?
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people started leaving. People don't go to her rallies. And the people that do go, she's busing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people...
We'll have a big discussion at the commercial break, guys, so stand by. We're going to have a lot of fun. Stick around.
United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community. All
I've
of this,
seen people on
let
television.
me just say here, this is
The
the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the
say
city
my
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Look at her. She's cackling.
You know, this is... I
First
think, one
cackle of the night. How many more
this
cackles will we
election,
get?
I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including
All
the endorsement of
terrible
former
Republicans.
Vice President Dick Cheney and Congressmember Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if you didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick
The
minute.
people, the issues are not being addressed because
Thank you.
Biden and Harris are
I
president.
hear that.
Listen.
See, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose
Good
were
stuff,
just
Trump.
killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire.
She's
they did
smiling.
All those generals, all
She's
those
smiling.
people,
Unbelievable.
Because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fire
Time to
him.
fire
He writes a
Harris.
book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy, look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists, they have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals.
I know you're here, Galaxy. I'm reading all the comments.
Common street criminals.
Hi.
They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down, all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof, and we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear.
No, it hasn't. It's been
where he
postponed.
stands on the
His
issue
sentencing has
of
been
what is
postponed till
important
after
about
the election.
Respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails. Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president,
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Oh, it's a good question.
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of it, at least every point that you've made.
What
But
kind of
in
answer
general,
is this?
Let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States, and in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes
That's not true.
that we cannot
No way.
rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid.
If that's the
raised
truth,
by a hardworking
why did
woman
Biden tap the strategic
who
oil
worked and
reserve
saved
twice
and was able
if
to
we have
buy
more
our first
domestic
home
oil
when I was a
production than ever
teenager?
before?
The
Not true.
values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3
That's
million
not true.
homes
Come
by
on.
my
I mean,
first term.
everything that I've
My
told you has
work
always been the
that
truth
is
on this live
related
stream.
to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about
And Brooke, you're the most
protecting
important
Social
woman in my
Security
life, and I would
is
never
based
do
on
anything to hurt you.
long-standing work that
Never.
I've done,
Never.
protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective
Tom,
that is about lifting
I am not a
people up
psychopath, and
not
I
beating
I
people
want your vote.
down.
Thank you
And
very
then
much for
Paul,
voting for Monroe Mann for
The
president.
true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands that strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly.
Funny,
And
Carly.
Everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking.
Tom, you
about-
gotta vote for Trump.
If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Well,
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations for illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are not good things for the environment, as she understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I asked, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me, it was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our
She's
nation's
horrible.
capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
That's a good question, Miss T.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches,
Nice, love and light.
spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia The former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for
She's
you.
like a high school, it's like she's running for high school president and he's running for president of the United States.
For our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point.
Remember to click like. We can get more people in here. Have a more fun chat. The more likes we can get, the more people will show up.
The outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous.
He's great,
DC,
funny.
And let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the border.
Tom, riddle me this. You're funny, Carly.
If they do that, the border is closed. Those people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue of both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times.
We haven't even had a commercial break yet.
For 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge it at all. I said that sarcastically, you know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker, we didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge looked at it.
and said
They said we didn't have standing.
fraud.
That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you do a special on it, I'll show you.
I love Trump.
Georgia, and I'll show you
So funny.
Wisconsin,
Awesome.
I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election. that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us, we won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. He is having a very difficult time processing that.
I love him. He's so funny. Look at him. Cute little Donnie. Cute little Donnie Trumpy.
Who attempts, as he did in the past, to
I have. I'm an Iraq War veteran, Bronze Star nominee. Are you?
And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom work with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps...
Yeah, I don't believe her either, Miss T.
To my right, the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact.
If true, I salute you, Tom.
Troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as
Well
president.
said, love and light.
They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia
You too,
was
Tom.
afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump.
And thank you all for watching my live stream tonight. I appreciate all of you for being here. My name is Monroe Mann. Hope you'll click like and subscribe.
At a debate just a few months ago that if you weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
Your time
I
is up.
think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning out to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected, Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand what's going on here.
She has no idea.
October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a conference.
She doesn't even believe what she's saying.
Horribly raped.
She's just reading a
And
script.
so absolutely, I said then, I say now. Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a
Funny,
course
Leighton.
for a two-state solution.
Hi,
And
Charles.
in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give
Hold on, I gotta
Israel
plug
the
in.
ability
Hold
to
on.
defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would
I'm
you
sitting down again. Hold on.
Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know.
I agree with that
would
100%.
have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine.
Well, good point. Love and light and Carly.
When you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. There was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke.
Thanks, Big Kev. Yeah, I just plugged in.
And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality.
As they say, DEI hire.
That Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to
she's
himself.
horrible. That's a lie. That's a lie.
That he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline?
I'll be gay in this situation, Carly. I'll be happily gay. I'll be a happily married gay man to Donald Trump.
Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, is
President
paying a
Trump,
lot of money.
thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right, guys, it's commercial time. So this is the chance to go use the restroom if you have to go do that, and go get something to drink if you need to. I'm Christian. I still think I might marry Trump if I have to. All right, so do you guys have any questions that you want for my opinion, or do you have any questions about the debate that you didn't understand, any issues that you didn't understand, etc.? I'm happy to guide you as best as I can and give you my perspective. What's going on with my hair today? I feel like a troll. Remember those little trolls? The cringe I experienced from listening to that from Harris. I will say she was easier to listen to than Biden. And she's easier to listen to than AOC. But I don't believe what she's saying. Brooke says, who's eating pets? So 20,000 Haitians were basically brought into a city in Ohio that has 60,000 citizens. So now there's 80,000 people there. 20% of them are now Haitians. And from what I understand, Haitians are known to potentially eat animals. And I think it's probably in many ways because Haiti's known as one of the most poor countries in the world. I've been to Haiti. I worked there as a volunteer EMT after the earthquake, I think in 2009, 2010, whenever that was. And it certainly is an extremely poor place. And so there are these stories now of people from Haiti going and finding pets outside and grabbing them and consuming them. So, Ninth Place says, you look like the dude from How I Met Your Mother. Do you mean, what the heck is that guy's name? He has three, Doogie Howser, right? Doogie Howser, MD. Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris. And Miss T says, will Trump serve time? It depends what happens. I think if the sentencing has been pushed off until the end of, after the election. So, and also the federal case has also been brought back, against Trump as well. That's been also postponed until after the election. If Trump wins, I think they're both just going to go away because I think they're both very flimsily created legal arguments to begin with. If he loses, he's going to get sentenced, and I think he will end up in jail. But the question is, will they allow him out pending appeal? Probably not. It'll be a really interesting situation. I'm still hoping that Nate Silver is right, and that Trump is going to win. For those of you who are just joining us, we're just taking a break because the debate is taking a break. But as soon as it is done, as soon as it starts up again, we're going to go back there and look. I'm actually just staring at my refrigerator looking for something to drink and something yummy to munch on, which all you guys should do as well. Supposedly, there's only about 25 minutes left in the debate. We'll have to see if there's any more. So we're going to have some blackberries. Hope you guys like blackberries. Let me see what other questions we have here. Some sneakers with some liquid on them, says Ninth Priority. Tom, so if we oppress them, they're going to start eating animals. Oh, no. Yeah, Love and Light, I agree. She's not a great debater. The number one reason why she's not a great debater is she hasn't had any practice. Look at the difference between Donald Trump of 2016 and the Donald Trump of today. On those first debates with Hillary Clinton, he was not as precise and poised, and I think we're coming back. Nope, not yet. So, The thing is, though, do you really think that she could handle herself talking to Kim Jong-un, talking to Putin, talking to President Xi? I don't think any of those people are going to respect Kamala Harris in any way, shape, or form. We're back. Let's check it out. Please like and subscribe and help my channel grow. My name is Monroe Mann. I'm an Iraq war veteran, an attorney, and now a YouTube live streamer. Let's check it out.
Move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly?
Ooh, good question. Good question.
I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But
agreed, love and light.
What's happening?
If she wins, I'm really frightened for the world and the United States.
They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try again.
Hi, Mario. Welcome.
That's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead.
What's up, Tony
B?
B?
Getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if
he's so tough, so
we
cool.
don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
They
here.
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President.
that doesn't know he's alive.
Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this
Tom, I
war.
think World War III is an issue if Harris
If
wins.
elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet please.
He said, quiet, please.
Much happier than he is right now. But eventually, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's
Good point, Wes. Good point.
with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst.
Yeah, why are you talking to world leaders and not our president, Joe Biden?
Vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, and I met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader, upholding international rules and norms.
Exactly, Tom. And why did he wait until Trump was out of office? Because Biden was a lot weaker. Same thing, which is why Russia invaded Crimea when Obama was president. No one invaded anywhere when Trump was president.
Strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine.
Biden and his son, Hunter, are the ones who had the big corruption with Ukraine, not Trump.
Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
That was a stupid decision. Horrible decision.
And as a result,
hi, Wes. Hi, Love and Light. Good points, both of you.
We were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are.
There are American soldiers still in Iraq, just so you know. So
One of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite
come on, Harris.
respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved, and Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed.
Good point, Wes.
Agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo.
Tom saying what?
Good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us.
Hi, Chrissy.
They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
I want to move on. And Trump goes, yeah, I'm still talking.
Because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I said that, and then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
That was so funny.
That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want.
Oh my gosh, that's such a baloney, such baloney. Blah, 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 blah.
And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned land, he owned buildings.
He owned land.
He was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this. Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country.
She travels the country.
We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest
He already is,
in the
already has been
aspirations
president.
and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people.
Yeah, it looks like we're going
Knowing
back,
that
Jamie.
regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Yeah, look at his eyes. Look at him.
Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Time's up.
I want to respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump.
Did she actually think,
and what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
She's like the little petulant high school cheerleader. But I want to be president.
Why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
What's your
To
plan?
give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice
and
President
move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She
please.
has a plan to defund the police. She has a flat plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President
She
Trump,
has
you
a
have
plan
to
to
move on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just think
President Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
Uh-oh, they're losing control of the debate.
This is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they
Funny,
would've done
Jamie.
that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never gonna be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system.
I agree, Carly. It was a horrible face.
Included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald
Trump looks younger. I would do a poll. Hold on a second.
He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for
What's
all
up, Piper?
people, understanding.
Yeah, no tie for
The
Kamala,
value I
Carly.
bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
That's just
President Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on
I
that.
want to move to an issue that's important for a
You
lot
made a
of
mistake.
That's me waving.
And number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare. Much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people. Private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to do.
President
People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance.
What's up, 101 Savage?
6 months for an operation that you need to be.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax.
Why is she talking about Trump?
It's very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or is being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been Vice President. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles.
Yeah, Harris is becoming will become a tiny European country if Harris is our president.
And opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. They're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people.
No,
Supposedly
I agree with that. I think we will start to become a third world country if Harris wins.
They get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back.
All right, we'll take a little break again. Taking a little break. Time for a bathroom break for all of you guys, including me. So I'm going to put you guys in the freezer. That's what I usually do. If anyone joins, let people know that I'm in the freezer. Here, wait. Let me do the poll so you guys know. Will you? Hey, you are in my freezer. I am using restroom. Will you wait 2 minutes for my return? All right, there's the poll, guys. So you're going right into the freezer, and I will be back in 2 minutes. Make sure you read the poll. See you shortly. I'm back. Wow, I got ice cream in here. I got frozen grapes, and these are great, by the way. If you haven't tried frozen grapes, you have got to try frozen grapes. They're so good. Look. Delicious. Thanks for sticking around. I went in, I put you guys in the freezer, and I had 15 people. I come back, I got 21. So we're gonna be watching the closing statements in a very short moment. If you haven't, thank you for clicking like. Thank you for clicking subscribe to my channel. My name is Monroe Mann. I have a PhD in psychology. I'm a Bronze Star nominated Iraq War veteran. I am an attorney. I'm a licensed skydiver. I'm an improv comedian. I'm a musician. I finally got my music stand, guys. It arrived. So we're going to be able to do some better music now. There's my guitar. Got my ring light up. We got something starting here soon. Here we go. Is this it? No, not yet. This is weird. We were stuck at 12 likes. We were stuck at 12 likes for about 50 minutes. I put you guys in my freezer. We go from 12 to 19 likes. Craziness. All right, thank you for this. The 70% of you who stayed with the live stream while I was in the restroom and you guys were in the freezer. Let's see what the comments here are. And why the freezer? Hold on a second. You have to vote, says 101 Savage. Miss T says, take us with you. I can't take you into the bathroom. That would be really weird for me to use the toilet on a live stream. Why the freezer? Just because it's kind of funny. And it's memorable. And it's better than you coming into the toilet with me, right? It can't be good for your phone. Cold is better for your phone than heat. You notice your phone never shuts down in cold weather. It does shut down in hot weather. So, freeze time. Nah, it won't freeze the circuits. I used to live up in Maine. Very, very cold, and it was much colder than that freezer, let me tell you. Brooke says the freezer is a little bit relaxing. Hi, Piper. Haley, how you doing? That's right, I put you on ice, love and light. Hello, Cheese Curd. Haley, Brooke. Burger Sleuth. Good to see you. All right, we're at the spin room over here. Don't worry, we're not missing anything. It hasn't come back yet, so thank you for joining. Delaware, boot camp is finished. You did it in 3 months, and I don't recognize one person here. Oh, wait, we're back. I'll continue the chat in a second. We want to hear their closing statements.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving...
These are not policies.
...a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans. and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So if you just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things, why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it, because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like, we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question.
Bye, Carly.
Why didn't
Sleep
you
well.
do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a
Delaware, I said hello to you earlier. And I'll talk more once we're done. Trump is more important than you right now, sorry.
With Russia and Ukraine, we're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
All right, that is a wrap on the Harris-Trump presidential debate.
Cool, let me put the volume down here for a second, and then we're gonna have a little chat. So, let me see who else has joined us here. NN, why hasn't she done anything? Brookface, Savage Boy, and yeah, Delaware. Boy, you're a very impatient. New. If I were your drill sergeant, I'd tell you get down and give me 20 push-ups right now. We have the president of the United States talking right now, and you're asking me why have I not acknowledged you and waiting you to come back? It's like, I'm sorry, Donald Trump is more important than any of us right now, because he's going to determine whoever's president determines where you're going to go to war. So you should want to hear what Donald Trump has to say. That being said, Delaware, who's in the chat here, just got done with basic training in the United States military. I'll give him a shout out and a salute. So thank you for serving our country. Welcome back. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you still thought about coming back to my live stream after you finished. So let's everyone say, I salute you to Delaware in the live chat. All right. Let me catch up on these comments, and then we'll talk about what we just saw. Night, Carly, Jamie, Acid Rain is here, Piper. Jamie is serving up marshmallows. Or maybe I'm serving up marshmallows. All right, 101 is going to run for president one day. Going to be like Trump, talk about all the issues. Good job. Trump did good. Trump did well, Miss T. But I will say, yeah, you're right. Harris is a good-looking woman, and so is AOC. I'm not going to lie, they're both very attractive. I just don't think their policies are very attractive. Love and Light. Savage Boy here, God bless Delaware. Did Delaware actually bail out? Delaware, are you still here? I'm so upset with him if he left. Look at that, he doesn't even seem like he's here. He got upset with me that I was not welcoming him back. When we're having the presidential debate. Dude, well, Delaware, if I lost you as a fan, it's your fault, not mine. And you should get down and give 20 push-ups. But we do thank him for his service. And all right,
We thought that Trump had learned we're not winners politically. And there they all were. And I talked about how he didn't lose the election and all.
I'm wondering if hey, can you guys check to see how many subscribers I have now? I've been stuck at 3,980, like 5, 88, 89, 84 for the last week and a half. I'm hoping, is there any way that we got up into the 90s this time? 3,992 maybe? So, 101 Savage, no one's perfect. Trump is not at all a prophet. Prophet, Prophet, Savage, Prophet. I believe in Jesus. I think Trump on earth. Trump is the only one who can help us. We need Trump. 3.98. Unbelievable. So I got no new subscribers from this. I don't know what's been going on. I used to do a live stream and I would get 10 to 60 new subscribers in 1 hour. Now I do an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Nobody. How can I have 22 likes and nobody subscribed? Crazy. Not sure what's going on with YouTube, but anyway. What's really a shame is that a lot of people, including myself, no longer believe in the sanctity of the voting systems in America. And that is the mark of a banana republic. That is the mark of a totalitarian regime. When you don't trust that the person who is elected president is actually the person who won. And it's really frightening because there are a lot of people, honestly, on both sides. If Trump wins, the left is going to say that there was cheating. If Harris wins, the right is going to say that there was cheating. I don't see how this is going to, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think November 6th is going to be a very interesting day in the United States, regardless of who wins, because there's going to be a lot of animosity and distrust, regardless what happens. And that's what's unfortunate. That's what scares me about where the country is, and that's why I've talked about. I'm always reading this book. It's down here in my list of books. By the way, you guys should read books too. Look at all the books I'm reading. Right? Read books. But one of them is The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And I believe that's what we are seeing right now before us, is the decline and fall of the American empire. And I know it's not called an empire anymore, but we are the closest thing to an empire in the world. And we have the most power in the entire world. And it's spiraling out of control into oblivion. And we still exist in the name, the United States of America, but I don't think we're the United States of America anymore. And I really honestly believe, even if Donald Trump wins, I don't even believe that he is going to be able to prevent the fall of the country. I think there is a deep state, and it does exist, and it's a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. The scope and size of the American government has grown way too big. And you know how you know that the president doesn't have as much power? Who's president right now, and yet the country is still running? How can the country still be running when President Biden is AWOL on vacation and Kamala Harris is campaigning? It's very frightening. And so Berger says, I agree with you. Don't trust the voting committee, says Savage. Berger Sleuth, no doubt it will be interesting. It is the most interesting election of our time. She's getting all the alien votes, says Savage, yeah. Yeah, I don't believe Biden got more votes in the history of this country than Obama. I believe that Obama got a lot of votes. There's no way that Biden got 81 million votes. And how did they magically appear at the 11th hour after everyone fell asleep? Something very suspicious. And Savage says the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Unfortunately, I believe the U.S. won't be around 100 years from now. Yeah, I have a feeling it'll be something similar. Just like, remember, there was the Roman Republic, and then it turned into the Roman Empire. And then the Roman Empire was still there in name, but it wasn't really the Roman Empire anymore. That's what I think is happening to the United States. It is, and watch Russia, watch China. They are growing. And I used to live in China. So many people on the right criticize China. Most of the people have never, on the right and the left, have never been to China, and certainly have not lived there, and certainly have not worked there. I've done all three. And China's an amazing country. They have efficient public transportation around the country, amazing subway systems, beautiful streets, delicious food. It's not this horrible, it's not like Russia was, the USSR, during Soviet rule. China, I'm not saying that I agree with everything China does. Certainly it's terrible that you can't vote in China. But China is not Russia. And China is doing an amazing job in everything that they're doing. While we are bickering and doing all this stuff with transgender and fighting over the guns and fighting over this and that and all these petty things. They're petty in the sense that they're not driving us forward. They're just petty in that we're arguing all the time and not solving any problems. China is starting to blow us out of the water. And so I agree with you. I think, as you said, Savage, in 100 years, I think this country is going to be unrecognizable. And Philip says, how does a business run when the CEO takes the day off? Now, in all fairness, the best companies are run so well by the CEO that when the CEO leaves, the company still operates. And that's actually the number one thing that determines whether a business is running at peak efficiency is that it can run even when the CEO is not there. But it doesn't mean that the CEO is not there for 2.5 years. The truth is, Joe Biden has not been the president for 2.5 years, given his mental state, and certainly now. And that would be an issue. Like, if the idea is a good company can run without a CEO for maybe 3 weeks when the CEO goes on vacation, but not. It's just totally AWOL. Still me says vote for Pedro. How you doing, V Pirate? Good to see you. Long time no see. It's a sad day in America when I look at Poland as handling things and they're doing things better than us. Yeah, unbelievable. I was talking with this guy on X recently, and I agree. I said, look, all of the people, the worst people from the third world are coming to America. So the third world is starting to, like the best people. Think about it. Who leaves these third world countries? It's not the people that are doing really well there. I mean, who leaves Argentina? Not the millionaires. A millionaire in Argentina is not going to leave to come to America because they're not going to be a millionaire here. They're doing very well in Argentina. So who's leaving? The poor, the uneducated, the criminally induced, the mentally unstable. Those are all the people who are coming to the United States. So who's left in Argentina? These really good people. Who's left in Poland? Who's left in all around the world? These really great people. The third world is becoming the new first world. I've been trying to figure out in some ways, I don't really love living in the United States anymore. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Iraq. I've lived in China. I'm happier every time I'm living outside this country. And I try to think all the time what it is. And I think there are a lot of different reasons why. One, people don't talk about politics all the time overseas. Crime seems to be so much lower in other countries. I feel like people are more cultured, with all due respect to my fellow Americans, but my fellow Americans are not cultured people. And if I ever became president of the United States, I would say, look, I want everybody to get a passport. And in order to get, if you want federal benefits, if you want health insurance, if you want this and that, go serve the country overseas. Go do something outside of this country and see how the rest of the world lives. And I feel like I've become a much more interesting and educated and empathetic person because I've seen the poverty of Haiti. I've seen how China does it. I've seen that China's got a lot of problems, but they've created solutions to a lot of problems that we have. I've been to Russia too. And you know what? Russia's a fascinating place. I've been to Mongolia. I've been to South Africa. Where else have I been? I've been to Kuwait. I've been to Iraq. I've been to Mexico. I mean, blah, 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 blah. I'm just happier when I'm not here. And I think it's because the United States is not what it used to be. And strangely enough, I feel more myself when I'm overseas. I don't know if that makes me less of an American, but in some ways I see more of the American ideals espoused by other countries now. Just like you said, V-Pirate. Poland, I think, is more American than America is. And that's concerning. By the way, if you like what I'm saying, please click like, please double tap the screen, please subscribe, please turn on the bell. Yeah, Poland is doing amazing. Tyler thinks I'm transgender. No, nope, I am just awesome and enigmatic. I was the number one employee in my last company, says V-Pirate. Now that they're going out of business, and now that I'm gone, they're going, ha. Good for you, V-Pirate, that's right. If you go to China, you can see how great it is. They have so many tech advancements you couldn't even fathom here. China has trains that hover. There's a maglev train. It's the fastest train in the world. I've been on it. And it goes from Shanghai city to the airport. And super, super fast. Something like, I think it's like 320 miles an hour or something. It is mind-blowing how amazing it is. And yeah, we have all this horrible traffic here in the United States constantly. Like I'm ashamed here in South Florida. I filed my paperwork to potentially run for Miami Beach commissioner next year. Because why is there no good subway system here? Why does it stop at Museum Park? Why doesn't it come to Miami Beach? Why do I have to drive everywhere in traffic? Why are there all these trains, but the trains go nowhere? It's like, what is wrong with the United States? There are a lot of problems here. I'm not going to lie. But I will tell you this. They will get worse under Kamala Harris. The only hope we have, and I don't even know if it's enough, is that Donald Trump wins the election. Yeah, we're on TikTok while other nations are serious. Well, to be fair, Chinese are on Douyin, which is or Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, and there's brainwashed over there in China as they are here. Do you know Italy has places they will pay you to live there? I did read about that. I heard that that's a case. And I've been looking at Portugal. I think for $200,000, if you buy a home there, you can get a residence permit. I think same thing in Greece. And I mean, beautiful, beautiful countries. Yeah, Savage Boy says, I'm patriotic. I'll always love the country, but I do agree. I hate living in the U.S. Same thing. It's a weird thing. And you know, this will come back and bite me in the butt one day when they find a clip of me saying this. But I agree with you. I'm patriotic. I love my country. I do not like living here. I don't like the culture. I don't know what it is about the culture here in the United States, but it's like no matter what American city I'm in, I don't feel the same energy that I feel when I am living overseas. Maybe I'm just like a wanderlust, somebody who loves to travel, and I love other cultures so much, and I'm just bored with my culture. Could be. But even in New York City, where you've got all these different cultures, I don't like it because they assimilate and they become American. They become like New Yorkers. I loved living in Shanghai. I loved even living in Tikrit in Iraq or in Tuz and getting to know the locals. And oh my gosh, it's such an adventure. Maybe that's the other thing too. It's like I love adventure. And I don't feel like living in the United States for me is an adventure. For some people, they become, they emigrate from their country and immigrate to the United States. For them, that is their adventure. For me, this is no adventure. Living in Florida, that's not an adventure. I agree, V Pirate. Yeah, if you want government benefits, you should have to pass a drug test. 100%. There are so many things. People that say, "Oh, I want government health care." That should be a right. No, it shouldn't be. I get free health care at the VA because I put my life on the line for every American in Iraq, and I served my country. I think you should either serve. You got to be in the Peace Corps. You got to be in the military. You got to be a police officer. Like, do something for your community. And yeah, take a drug test. 100%. I think that's amazing. And a background check, yeah. And no criminal records or things like that. Otherwise, like you had your opportunities. A Russian woman, says V Pirate. Czech women. V Pirate and Savage Boy like Russian and Czech women. There was this Czech girl that I was on a train going from Prague, that's the capital of Czech Republic, to, I was going to Slovenia, and I ended up just talking to this Czech girl, and she was going, I said, "Where are you going?" She goes, "Oh, I'm going to Brno." I said, "Oh, where's Brno?" I think it's like the only city in the world that has no like lacking syllables. It's Brno. Brno. Anyway, Brno. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to Brno." I said, "What do you do there?" "I go to school. I go to university there. I'm just coming back from my break." And I said, "I know." We started talking, have a good time. And I said, "Can I get off with you?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I get off with her. And anyway, she showed me all around the city. And lost touch with her, though. So if you're watching, her name was Marketka. Hello, Marketka. Hello from your friend Monroe. Hope you graduated school. But she was very beautiful and very, very nice. Trump had to debate the networks and Kamala, says Ginji Gok. Yeah, Trump is the right choice. I agree. Who says you really don't love the United States? Well, ahoy, says Miss T. I don't know if you're talking to me. 2024 saw the largest high net worth individual emigration from Latin America, with main destinations Australia, Singapore, and the USA. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying, of course, that there are not great people that come from these other countries. But we don't have high net worth individuals. I'm just trying to think. I'm not saying that that's not true. We do have that, but there are I think there are far worse people coming into the United States than there are bad people going to Mexico or going to Poland or going to Argentina, for example, or Nicaragua. You don't have Americans flocking to Nicaragua. You got more Nicaraguans who are flocking to come to the United States. There are some Europeans that like Trump, this, that. I mean, there's a wave of this fascism going across the world. But the fascist is not Donald Trump. I mean, fascism by definition means it's really government control of everything. Donald Trump doesn't want government control of everything. Donald Trump wants to give a lot of freedom back to the states. That's why he supported the overturning of Roe versus Wade, because it should never have been a federal decision. It should be a decision made by the states. Let's see. V Pirate said you'd come to Florida to come eat with you. That's great. What kind of food are we getting, V Pirate? We're focused on OF social media. Yeah, we're focused. Yeah, we're focused on social issues rather than economic and true political issues that are like you said are going to push the country forward. Let's see, V Pirate, good on you, Savage. Lots of police in my family, that's good. V Pirate was going to college to be a doctor, but had to drop out because my ex and I divorced. She took 73 had filed for bankruptcy. I filed for bankruptcy once too, before I went to Iraq. And I think of it as a badge of honor. The IRS says the average millionaire in America has gone bankrupt or out of business 3 times before they make their first million. So if you've already filed for bankruptcy, that means you're on your way to becoming a millionaire. And don't give up on your medical school dreams. A lot of medical schools are giving free tuition now. So I know NYU does that. There are 3 schools, I think, in New York City that are offering free medical school tuition, and a lot of other schools are starting to catch on. So that's something for you definitely to investigate. Good night, Burger Sleuth. And Love and Light, have you ever been to Romania? I haven't been to Romania. I wanted to on that trip. I was so close. I was in Bulgaria, I was in Slovenia, I was in Croatia, but I didn't make it to Romania. But I've heard good things about that too. Trump won the debate, says Omid. Yeah, the debate is over. V Pirate, if you want to watch this stream later, tomorrow, you can. I watched it with everybody. You can. I turned my camera around so you can see the debate. And I think I lost a fan now, Miss T. She said, "You don't love America? Ahoy!" Well, I think she misinterpreted it. I said I love America. I just don't like living here. Turkey's awesome. Love Turkey. Istanbul is fantastic. It's one of the coolest cities I've ever been to because it really combines. You walk around one street, you think you're in Paris. You turn the other street, you think you're in Persia, in Iran. It's like, wow, so beautiful. First it's a cobblestone street that's from France. Next it's a crazy Arab street. Very, very cool city. Yes, Savage Boy, it's hard to find a good woman to marry these days. I agree. Zane says 2 puppets while having a debate. You're funny. At least Trump will get rid of the inflation. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he wins. Having trouble getting a job. I got fired because of politics. I've had a problem getting a job my whole life. And I part of it's politics maybe. Part of it is I think I just got too many degrees. What's up, Liga? Welcome back. And people don't know what to do with me. And I've been without a job for 6 months now. Let me see, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, 6 months. I was working as an immigration attorney. I had to quit that job after about 11 months because I was being underpaid. I was being treated terribly. And I got really just sick of realizing that I was helping all of these illegal immigrants to get their green cards. And these people, a lot of them, who I was helping shouldn't have been there. And I had to argue this person, well, he doesn't have that big of a criminal record, and he only came over the border 3 times, and it's like, oh my gosh, it didn't make me feel comfortable. So, but even now, like I haven't even been applying to jobs just because I know how hard it is. Me with a PhD in psychology, a lawyer, an MBA in finance. I'm a really good candidate for a lot of positions, but I don't know why I do not get invited to get interviewed at jobs. You've been out of work for 5 months. I'm a college student, so I'm trying to get another job. If it makes you feel any better, Savage, I have 55 more degrees than you, and I still have problems getting a job. And I'm living off of savings now and living off of investments. And, at some point I got to figure something out because it's going to run out eventually. But for now, I'm okay. And it gave me the opportunity over the summer to get the channel monetized. But a lot of people are in this same situation where I'm a web developer too, a computer programmer. And I talked to a recruiter because I was trying to get a job as a Ruby on Rails web developer. And I got in touch with this recruiter, and the recruiter talked to me and went over all my experiences. And I'm like a mid-level Ruby on Rails web developer. I'm not an expert. And he said to me, he goes, it really stinks right now, because if you came to me 4 years ago, I could have gotten you probably 20 job offers for $150,000 a year each. In fact, when I moved down here to Florida, a week after I got here, I got offered $120,000 for a Ruby on Rails job to move back to New York, to Brooklyn. But I thought, oh my gosh, I just moved here, just got my lease, and I couldn't do it. And he said, the problem now is every single tech company, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever, LinkedIn, they're all letting go 30% of their workforce, which means guess who's getting all the coding jobs now? All of these veterans from all of these companies, from Amazon, from AWS, from Facebook. How could an intermediate developer hope to get a job when all of these other people? So everybody's having a problem getting a job right now. And so just, if any of you are unemployed right now, guess what? Don't feel bad about it. It's a tough market. So let me see what more questions are. It says, V Pirate, I have an associate's in CRIJ, bachelor's in kinesiology, working towards a doctor in physical therapy, 3.7. Good job with your GPA. Miss T says, good luck doing YouTube from China and Russia. You make no sense sometimes. Miss T, I did do YouTube from China, and you can use a VPN. This is what I'm talking about, Miss T. People have a misconception of what China is. I'm not an apologist for China, and I'm proud to be an American citizen. I don't want to be a Chinese citizen. But there are certain things that America doesn't do well, and there are certain things that China does do well. And the world is not completely black and white. But Trump, in this case, is going to do a better job of making America back to what it was, making it a better place to live. And anyway, I'm glad to have you here. I thought we lost you for a while. And it's okay. People who have not been to China don't understand it. And I don't think a lot of people should be making criticism of a lot of things if they haven't experienced it. It is a communist nation, and in that sense, I don't approve of it. I'm a capitalist, and I don't like that my friends in China can't vote. It is annoying that when I'm in China, I have to use a VPN, which slows the internet connection down a lot. So I don't know if I could do live streams very easily from China. The last time I was there was in 2019, which was before I was doing live streams. But I love foreign cultures. And I do think a lot of Americans are uneducated. Most Americans don't speak a foreign language. Most Americans apparently don't have a passport. Most Americans have not left the country in the last 4 or 5 years. And most Americans have a very narrow view of the world. And they think that America is the be-all and end-all. In many ways, it is. It's incredible. But at the same time, people who criticize America haven't traveled either. Because if you've visited some of these third world countries, you realize, well, actually, America's not that bad. America's very good in what it does. But I'm not going to say that America is better than every other country. It's not. It's in every single way. It is in some ways. But just like you're not better, Miss T, at everything in your life, I'm not better than you at everything. Each one of you is better than me at many things. And I am better than you at many things. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us very interesting. And believe it or not, I bet North Korea does something better than any country in the world, in a good way, in a positive way. So, and I think this is why Trump sometimes applauds Putin and applauds Kim Jong-un and applauds President Xi, because it's not completely bad. If China were completely bad, I would not have gone back there twice to go live there. But I'm not saying China's completely good either. I'm not renouncing my citizenship and saying I want to go become Chinese, or I want to become Russian, or I want to become French. No, I don't. I'm proud to be an American. But America has a lot of things it needs to improve. So, Omid says, I got fired because you support Palestine. Well, sorry to hear you got fired for that. Curtis says cybersecurity is where it's at. Savage says, after college, I think I'll move to Europe and find a European girl to marry. Yet Europeans and Asians have that thing. One thing I regret is I had an opportunity to marry a number of really wonderful Chinese girls when I was there who wanted to marry me and wanted to have a family with me, and I didn't pursue it. And I thought it would be very easy to go back, but then COVID happened, and I lost all my connection with China and with all those girls. I haven't been back there since China since then, and unfortunately, a bunch of them have gotten married now and have kids with someone other than me. So if you do find that right girl who you really think is great, snag her, marry her, and have your kids. Solar says, what happens if I joined? I don't know what you're talking about if you joined. I don't know what that is, but if you join the military, you will be able to serve your country, whichever country. If you join my YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Monroe Mann/join. Your name becomes green in the chat. You get a badge, and you get access to behind the scenes live streams when I do rehearsals for music shows, when I practice things, when I do speeches. I've used the membership only live streams to get help from my members, and what else? When I have practicing new comedy characters, I'll use the members only live streams as well. So let's see. Now you work in the family business, oil and gas as a machinist. That's could be part. It's called AI, says Miss T. 11 Light says you're a Renaissance man. I try to be. I hope this Renaissance man starts making lots of money soon. That would make me a real Renaissance man. I'm going to go watch the debate. Let's get a coffee and bagel sometimes. V Pirate, if you're ever in Florida and you want to get together, you just let me know. We're happy to meet you guys. Any of you guys are in South Florida and want to get together, let me know. Curtis only has a high school diploma, which is wonderful. You don't need... My education does not make me smarter than you, doesn't make me more intelligent than you. It just means I have more pieces of paper than you and more student loans than you. And I'm glad you have no debt. That's fantastic. And you have a home in Southwest Florida paid off, making 150. Well, good job. I hope to be following your footsteps soon, to be making 150 to 170K a year. Curtis, kudos to you. 101 Savage Boy, you run a business of sorts, don't you, Curtis? Omid says China's way ahead of us, even though I don't approve their policies. And that's why I'm scared, because they are overtaking American development in Africa. China is becoming basically the new colonizer of Africa. And that's going to be a problem, because China's got massive natural resources, and they're all going to be going to China, and they're not going to be going to America. And that's not good. Chris C. supporting Trump. Haley says, fair enough. Kiana's here. How are you? We live in the best freedom country. Well, Chris, we live in the best freedom country right at this moment. It's disappearing. We do not live in the same free country that America was 20 years ago, even like 30 years ago. And that's what's frightening. And that's why I believe if Trump wins, I think he's going to do a great job to try to keep our freedoms. And I would really love Elon Musk to cut the size of the federal government in half. That would be amazing. And do something about our national debt. Omid says, I'm not better than all of you. Omid, you are better than each of us in certain ways. It sounds like you speak Arabic. I'm sure you speak Arabic better than all or most of us here in this live chat. Just finished with my main squeeze debate supplier. Team Awesome, who was that? Was that your man, Dan Bongino? I'm curious who it was that you were checking out. Or was it somebody here on YouTube? Curtis says, plumbers make $100,000 a year, welders make... Yeah, honestly, I should be doing something like that. I went into the knowledge field, and part of me thinks maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have become a plumber. I'm talking with a plumber right now about one of our tenants has a leak in her apartment. So I need to hire a plumber, and I'm just like that plumber is going to get $300 for going there. It's going to take about 20 minutes to fix this problem. I know he just needs to replace this particular fitting on the toilet, and he's going to make $400, $300. It's more money than I make as an attorney, which is amazing. Because basically, if it's only going to take 20 minutes for $300, it's like $1,200 an hour. That's a good rate. How you doing, Jeremiah Craig? Data boy from the UK. Miss T says, I never said that I love life. What else can you love? And what do you mean, Miss T? I never said that. What are you talking about? Love and Light says, Monroe, would you have dual citizenship? I've thought about it often, but I've also thought about maybe if they would take me applying to work at the State Department as a foreign service officer. If I did and they hired me, I don't think you can be a dual citizen if you're a member of the State Department. So I need to look, and I want to see if that's the case. I'm not sure. Savage, you can definitely try to write to your senator, write to your congressman. Maybe there's some exceptions. Who knows? Sometimes if you pursue things, you can get someone to maybe assist. Thanks, Kiana, for telling me you love my voice. I appreciate that. Miss T wants to do a thumb wrestle. Wow. Let's do it. Half the government is business people. I don't think so. I think half the government should be business people. That would be much better. Carly's about to go to sleep. He's on 10 CST, so there's a conflict sometimes. Are you live in the morning? I'm not sure what I'm doing anymore. I don't get any new subscribers anymore, and it's been really depressing. And you know, I was at first I was really thinking that this was going to really just skyrocket, because it was just taking off like a rocket over the summer. Got monetized very quickly. But YouTube is not sending me as many people as it used to. And if I'm not getting new subscribers, I don't know how often I can do this as much anymore, because I do need to either focus more on my law practice and getting clients. I need to go find a job somewhere. So I don't know. But maybe tomorrow morning I'll do a live, but it really all depends. And am I into stonemasonry? Hi, Piper, you're back. You won't ever unsubscribe. I kind of click with Carly. She's high-key a fire individual. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your support here. Monroe Mann for famous. Yeah, thanks, Love and Light. Appreciate the support. I've been talking for more than 2 hours, so I'm going to head off. If any of you do like what I'm doing and you're not subscribed, I would really love you to subscribe, because literally I've done 5 live streams over the last 4 days, and I got 0 subscribers on all of them. On 2 of them, I lost subscribers. I used to get 30, 40 subscribers on a live stream, and now I'm just getting, it's very, very depressing. If I go and check and there's no new subscribers, it's certainly not going to encourage me to keep doing this, because I certainly am not doing it just for fun. Maybe I'll do 1 live stream every week. But if anyway, we'll figure it out. Good night, guys. Thanks for watching the debate with me. And see ya.